looking back and as your career goes, the thing that one of the many things I appreciate about you and Aiden Compton's Most Wanted was that you could have This Is Compton, One Time Gaffing Them Up, and Late Night Hype all on the same album. So for you guys back then, and then explain it now, but back then, why was it so important on your first album to really have that type of sonic and thematic variance?
Once again, shout out to DJ Slip, man. You know, that's my sensei. I learned all this stuff from him. Um, ain't no telling where you end up. You know what I mean? We're one of those few groups that was accepted on the East Coast as well as the Midwest, as well as down south, and of course at home on the West. So I think the idea was to tap into the stuff that we vibe to, you know, not just the more bounce and Parliament and all that stuff, but, you know, the stuff that we really listen to. You know what I mean? You know, when you listen to M. Toomey, Sugar Free, or, you know, you listening to James Brown, or, you know, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? We like, you know, when we go to New York, we want to be able to do Final Chapter. You know what I'm saying? When we go down south, we want to be able to do, you know, It's a Compton thing. You know what I mean? When we on the West, you know what I mean? We gonna do I Don't Dance and One Time Gal From Up. You know what I mean? The songs like that. Growing Up in the Hood, you know, from the second album and stuff like that. So I think we still follow that format for us, trying to have something in every scenario we may be in. You know what I mean? That's why it's so wide and spread it like that.
Okay. Yeah. Now, do you, looking back to Compton, of course, became this whole entity of its own, thanks, of course, Eazy-E and NWA helped put it on the map per se, but King T, Compton's Most Wanted, Quick, of course, many of the guys
No
from
doubt.
that era helped keep it going. But now when you look back, how do you think that name early on helped you guys and or hurt you guys at the same time?
Um, Man, I think first of all, I think they opened the door. You know what I mean? They not just for Compton, but just for hip hop, period. And it's made it cool to be able to be expressive the way that we are and the way they were um, in that day and time. Of course, you had, you know, Millie Jackson, Blowfly, you know, all the Richard Pryor, Red Fox, you know, records. You know what I mean? But to actually get on a record and, you know, speak your mind and paint a story of how, you know, the inner youth or what we was going through back in those days, you know what I mean? And it's on a big plateau. I think that's one of the reasons that Compton is looked at like that. You know what I mean? You know, of course, it's a thorough place, but so is Chicago, so is Cleveland, so is Detroit, so is New York, you know what I mean? So is Philly. Um, I think we just had to jump on the gun for this being able to have Eric take a leap of faith and just, you know, start that shit. You know what I mean? With likes of Tidy T and Spade and Ice T and all of them, you know what I mean? He took what they had and just went to the next level with it. You know what I mean? And put it on a bigger stage. So income, you know, CMW, DJ Quick, second to none, you know what I mean? And like now, you know, you got Roddy Ricch and Kendrick and Compton AV, you know, and all these different people, you know what I'm saying? I think that, you know, that's all shout out to NW. Actually, that's shout out to Eric, Eazy-E Right. You know what I mean? For just having that good, great jump on the game. You know what I mean? For this being the first one to actually put it on a stage like that and it be accepted.
Yeah, no, I'd say arguably is the most or one of the most two or three most important business people in rap history, in my opinion.
No,
Uh,
mine's too. I
yeah,
agree. Yeah.
yeah, he definitely uh he's the man. So
I
that
sit
that
back and I wonder what he would be doing now with whatever it is. I know it would be great. And I know that, you know, I probably would have done 10 things with him by now based on our conversation when he was gang banging on us, so to say. You know what I mean? NWA, CMW, NWA. He took a great liking off into me as well as he knew that Ren was my partner. He used to come over there where Ren at. Actually used to ask my mom, you know, hey, he gonna go ride with us. You know, I was that young. You know what I mean? He had to ask my mom. And mom's trusted him. You know what I mean? And we roll. I'll be all at the golf and stuff with him. And, you know, they be hanging with girls. I was real outspoken, you know, a young kid, outspoken like that. And, you know, the We Want Easy video, he really, you know, when the people wasn't going to let us in, he came and was like, nah, it ain't going to be no video if them two dudes ain't here with me. Like, he really loved us. So That was my first time ever being in the video, the first time I ever been in the studio. He gave me the phone number. You know what I mean? So I know if he was still living, I know he would be doing something Jay-Z great, and I probably would be a part of it.
Yeah, no, he is phenomenal guy,
No
phenomenal
doubt.
stuff. So then with the straight checking them and growing up in the hood, I wanted to know for you, you guys have success, but now getting in, what changed getting on like a movie soundtrack and being in Boys in the Hood soundtrack and getting this different type of additional push and promotion? How did that affect you?
Soren, I wasn't taking it serious back then. I just wanted to rap. So after the Compton's Most Wanted album, and I got a couple of girls saying, "Hey, chill." You know what I mean? Unknown ran across John Singleton. Shout out to him. Rest in peace. And, he wanted to do some music. You know what I mean? We went to the studio. It took me probably like 4 hours to do those verses on Growing Up in the Hood. Verses 8, 5 minutes. You know what I mean? I just wanted to rap. You know what I mean? When I seen how incredible the response was on it, that's when I started taking it a little bit more serious. I was still in the streets. I had got gaffled. I went to jail back then. That's why I'm not on the video, but I'm on the song and I'm not on the remix because I was locked up. And that's how come I'm only on that one song on the second album, Straight Checkn, was because I got gaffled up. Needless to say, I wasn't taking it serious. I just went to bust. You know what I mean? But once I seen how serious it was to our community and the hip hop community, that's when I say, hey, we got something. Let me, straighten it up. You know what I mean? And start taking this a little bit more serious. It ain't about the girls or just hanging in the hood. You know what I mean? This is actually a real business. You know what I mean?
And then what did you have this realization once you were incarcerated or right before you got it? Like how did that happen and when did this change and what steps did you make to make that change?
We recorded the song for the soundtrack, and we was doing little extra parts for the movie Boyz in the Hood. That's me on Crenshaw when Cube got the gun and he like, "We got a problem? We got a problem." I was over there with Ferris, and 8 did the other part when they was in the backyard at the barbecue. John Singleton, he took a great liking off into us. He like, "I want y'all here because I want y'all to write the song pertaining to what's going on in this movie." So we used to just hang around. Um, Once we did the song Growing Up in the Hood, um, we did the song and we were supposed to do the video, I think probably like 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. I got incarcerated the day before the video. So that's why I'm not in the video. Cube is, and the homies is, you know what I mean? By the time I came home, you know what I mean? Like once again, you know what I mean? I just seen how the response was, you know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, like I gotta, leave the streets alone and dive more off of this because this is gonna keep me cool. The streets gonna keep taking me under, you know what I mean? So it was basically that. I was a kid still then. I was 19, 20 years old. It really ain't no excuse, man, but those are the cards that I was dealt as a youngster from Compton, California.
Yeah. And how then, because since you got out and since you've been putting out so much music lately, how would you say mentally, because some people can never give that up. How have you found, what have you been able to do? What have you done that has enabled you to make that separation?
When I came home for the music drive-by project, um, I wasn't on it at all. And I wanted to be so bad. We toured for it. We did the cover. If you open up the cover, I'm on the inside. And, I used to just, reflect like, man, you could be, up there in the front with your boy. You know what I'm saying? Like you was on the It's a Compton thing and the growing up in the hood and all of that type of stuff. But the decisions that you made got you back here. So I was determined to find a lane of my own that would put me back in the front. So I became a producer. You know what I mean? I mean, not off the back, but just started working my, chops as being a producer. I always was a great drummer and play little keys in here and there. So once I got my equipment up, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work my lane from here. You know what I mean? And I know how to bust. So when 8 need me to bust, I'm a bust. I'm on tour with him. I'm busting. We doing these classics, and You know, like I say, Ren gave me my first shot as a real producer, and then shout out to Hutch, Code 187 and the Bud of Law. They gave me a chance as well as Cocaine. And then from there, you know, that's where it become Redman and 213, and you know, the list goes on. You know what I mean? Xzibit, and you know, all these different things I'd have done. You know what I mean? And then from there, I just start taking it a little bit more serious. Like, if I could do this, I could do my own thing. You know what I mean? Giving it a chance with projects like the Wind Chill Factor. You know what I mean? From there, you know, still bumping my head a little bit. You know, like, okay, can't do that. You know what I mean? Try California. You know what I mean? Still bump my head a little bit. Like, okay, I got to stop dealing with this. You know what I mean? Came home and started doing, you know, my own stuff. You know what I mean? As well as working with 8. By this time, 8 was doing all MC8 projects. Wasn't no more CMW projects. I think the last CMW project was Represent. Yeah, by the time I got to Forward 80, it was like, okay, I got a formula. I know what I'm doing. Leave the streets alone at all, period, by all costs. You know what I'm saying? Leave the streets alone and just really just work on what your God-given talent. So by the time I got to my solo project, Forward 80, that's when I really, really started taking things way more serious.
Yeah. Okay. And then how do you find producing is a different, like a different level or a different way of expressing yourself, or how do you get out of that maybe differently than you do writing?
It spreads my wingspan a little bit more. You know what I mean? Uh, you know, you know, Snoop, that's my boy, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, he probably don't need my raps on his album, but he needs some stuff to rap to. You know what I mean? So it spread my swing spans a little bit more. You know what I mean? For there's people getting off into my vibe of production and saying, you know what, that's dope. This will fit on my project, or this will fit on my project, or this project, or that project. So I think it spread my wingspan a little bit more for this being on various projects as a producer versus an MC. So I just, you know, vowed to just brand myself in that route, you know, and it's crazy because I'm working on a documentary called Compton's Best Secret, because it kind of gets frustrating sometimes when a lot of people know me from Compton's Most Wanted, the rapper, and then the other half know me from, you know, that's Chill, the producer. So I'm trying to tell my story while I can, that I'm all of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm a producer. I started from Compton's Most Wanted. You know what I mean? I was the other guy rapping with MC8 on those first projects. And I evolved as a producer. Modest though. You know what I mean? Because I still want to go to Walmart. I still want to go to the gas station. You know, a lot of people, hey, Chill, what's up, what's up? But, you know, you get tired of taking selfies, or, you know what I mean, you try to dip in and dip out so you ain't looking your best or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm glad that I still can be that guy to actually, you know, go to the park and hang out with my kids and ain't got to worry about taking a bunch of selfies and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I would also like to add, in addition to rapping and producing, one of the other things I think you don't get a lot of credit for is mixing. And I talked with 8 about that. You can see the link there. But like on a lot of 8's more recent stuff that you've mixed, I've always been impressed at the separation and the different sonics, especially people listening on their headphones. They can really hear like this is mixed superbly. So how, when, and why did you develop talents as a mixer?
I was one of those guys that used to lean in the car and mess with the buttons on my radio. On my EQ, I had a nice system. All my cars back then, my Cutlass, my Cadillac, you know, my Regal, I had nice systems. And I got a kick out of reading CDs or reading tapes and messing with my EQ. So if it sounds this good in my car, then I know it sounds good. You know what I mean? I even used to get in other people's cars and set their stuff to sound good. You know what I mean? They'd come to me, hey man, mess with my EQ. You know what I mean? They my preamp, and I hook them up and they drive off but beating. You know what I mean? Also, you know, as a youngster, you know, laying up with my dad, I used to lay right on the side of the speaker when he listening to these Earth, Wind and Fire records, or Stevie Wonder records, or Miles Davis records, or James Brown, and I could hear the difference. It's kind of like a blessing and a curse, because everything I hear is in 3D. You know what I mean? Like I can hear the freeway, I hear kids playing, I hear cars going up the street, I hear me and you talking. You know what I'm saying? I hear my air conditioner on. You know what I mean? It's panned this way, this is panned this way. So I kind of try to, you know, study and perfect mixing stuff in a real light. You know what I mean? Like, you know, watching old Star Wars movies, you know what I mean? Stuff was mixed sonically correct. Marvel, I'm a great Marvel fan. You know what I mean? I watch Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk, all of that type of stuff profusely. And how they mix stuff, you know, Hulk's throwing a swing and it's coming from here on the right and it pans to the left. So I try to implicate that in my mixing. You know what I mean? I try to bring stuff in Dolby HD movie quality type stuff. You know what I mean? And I really get a kick out of it because, you know, a lot of the music I hear, a lot of people play me their music. I can't get off into it. It might be a dope beat or the guy might be saying something dope, but I can't get off into it if it ain't sonically correct. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a blessing and a curse. A dude can have a whack ass song. You know what I mean? But if it's mixed right, I'll give it a chance. You know what I mean? So I just never want to put nothing out there that sounded crappy. You know what I mean? Shout out to my boy, my partner in rhyme. You know, he believed in me to produce Veterans Day from top to bottom. And I was working with a little equipment. You know what I mean? I was on Rhythm D's equipment. And I was barely learning how to work Pro Tools, but I knew how I wanted it to sound. And to this day, that's one of the dopest mixed records that I've done.
Well, there it is. Well, I know you got a lot going on too, Chill. So anything else you wanted to add as far as what you're doing now or things people should be checking for?
Man, shout out to you, Soren Baker. You know what I'm saying? You always treat me good, man. Shout out to you and your platform, Unique Assets. You know what I'm saying? Y'all keep pushing. You know what I'm saying? I see the growth. I also see where you're headed. As for me, you know, I got my company, D.O.C Productions, you know, where we do mixing, mastering. You know, I got a young artist. I got Steady Rome. His project is out, as well as we finna drop an album with him. Dogman Compton project is out there. We just talked about the first generation. We're talking about doing another Dirty OG project. I'll give you that. For this, my next solo project, it's called Ultimate Gangster Shit. I got E40 on that thing. I got A Corrupt. You know, I got some features. You know, my features on unorthodox. You know what I mean? So I think it's gonna be pretty dope. You know what I mean? And I really, you know, I want to say that this is my last solo project because I'm kind of tired of just putting together projects for myself. I'm really a helper. I want to get behind my artists, and, you know, get off into other things such as movie scoring and, you know, stuff of that sort. So, you know, this may be my last project, may not be, but depends on if the people let me. But Ultimate Gangster Shit is coming next. Make sure you follow me at the Chill CMW. You know what I mean? And D.O.C, man, that's the spot. That's where we at.
Well, there it is. Little Chill. Thanks for coming through as always, man. Appreciate it.
All love, Soren.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Best with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.